So we need to see how many different combinations there are. So if you forget the brand for a second, you can see for red we have 4 different sizes, blue 4 different, black 4 different sizes, and yellow 4 different sizes. So we have 4 sets of 4 different sizes, that's 16. So we're just multiplying the numbers together, because then we can have 16 for brand A, 16 for brand B, and 16 for brand C. So basically we're just going to have 3 times 4 times 4, which gives you 48 choices. I'll always write that in just in case. So we're going to work out the percentage discount. So basically we need to see how much of a discount did we get. Well, our discount was 140 minus 93.80. And then we divide that by how much did it originally cost to get it as a percentage. And then put that into your calculator. You'll have to multiply it by 102. And you get the answer to be 33%. So how can you be able to check your answer? Well, basically, if we get 140 and we multiply it by 0.33, which is the same as 33%, what we get is we get 46.2. So that's our discount, right? Because we found that the rate is 33%. So then we can take 140, take away the discount. So 140 minus 46.2. And when you do that, you get 93.8, which is this. So that's how you figure out, that's how you check your answer. So the correct answer is 33. So if this is a linear sequence, the first difference is different, constant. So we have add 4. So add 4, you'll get 13. Add 4, you'll get 17. For tripling, we're tripling each time. So times 3 times 3, 36 times 3. 36 times 3 is 108. Then 108 times 3 is 324. For a quadratic, it might help to write it out, because remember we have a constant second difference. So 1923. So here we have a difference of 7. Here we have a difference of, it's going to be 4. So you can see the second difference is minus 3 because we're going down. So then if we go to the next one, well, you know we're going to take away minus 3, so this will go down to 1. So we add 1 to 23 and we get 24. So 24 is the next one. And then next, we're going to have to take away another 3. So then our first difference will be minus 2, because 1 minus 2, we're taking away the minus 3 again. Then 24 minus 2 gives us 22. And then you can verify that those are indeed in a quadratic sequence. So just repeat. So we have, I guess you could say or BG. Then we have or BG. So that's 8. Then we have 9 and 10. So the 10th color is red if you continue that pattern, because it repeats every 4 blocks. So then they pick a block at random. So it's probably that's red. So remember, they repeat every 4, right? So basically we're going to have red, red, blue, green, and that's going to keep repeating. So if we have this 6 times, that gives us 24 blocks, okay? So we want 25 though, so then we're going to have plus 1 more block. And what color will that last block be? It'll be red, because we're repeating the sequence again. Plus 1 red. So now when you see over the total, because obviously we do probabilities over how many are possible, well, how many could be red over how many could be possible? Well, you can see we have 6 of these groups, and each of them has 2 reds. So we'll have 2 times 6 to get 12 reds from there. And then we have this extra red at the end, at the 25th. That gives us 13 over 25 as our probability. So here you just have to figure out these things. So it says unit price multiplied by number of units. So you just have to multiply those numbers. And we get 127.5, and that's in euros because this is a cost. Here, it's some number multiplied by b is 13.98. You can write that in an equation if you don't know how to deal with it. So 6.99 multiplied by b is equal to 13.98. Or you could write it 6.99b is 13.98. That means that b is equal to 13.98 over 6.99, which is equal to, just gives you a nice answer of 2. So we'll have 2 units here. And then 33.8 multiplied by 1, well, that's just going to give us 33.80 euros. And then 120 euros a day. And I'm guessing we did it for 3.5 days. So we just have to multiply those again, just doing what it says. And we get 420 euros. Sorry, I should have written a 0 there just because it's 50 cents. When you add all those up, you get this subtotal. So that's how you can check your answer. And then VAT is at 13.5%. So to get VAT, we're just going to multiply that number. So 595.28, we're going to multiply that by 13.5%, which is 0.135. That's equal to, sorry, this is actually going into part B. I was getting ahead of myself. So it says do it to 2 decimal places. So when you do this thing here, so it's 13.5% of the subtotal, so you just multiply that by 0.135. 2 decimal places, you get 80.36 euros. So I don't think that you're actually meant to write it into this. I think you're actually meant to write it down here. Oh no, it says fill it into the table, but you could show where you're getting them all from here. Probably a good idea. But I'm just showing how to do it. So 80.36 is what you get. So we'll have euro 80.36. And then we have to get F, the total cost, including the VAT. So we just add those together because you add VAT on top of the cost. And you get 675 point, so euro 675.64 as your answer. So you should probably put it down here. So, and show how you're getting it. So you're adding the two numbers. You're doing 595.28 plus euro 80.36. That gives you euro 675.64 as your answer. And two decimal places, well, it's already two decimal places because of that. So basically for a stem and leaf plot, this is like the tens figure. So you can see that the line thing, that's the 10. So 5 and then the 3 is the units. So for business, we're looking for things that start with 3 here. And if you look here, there's none that start with 3. But over here, you can see that we have 3, 4, right? So here, it's a bit confusing, but the tens digit is the one in the middle column. So 4 and then 5 inside the middle, that's 54. So if we have 34, well then beside this 3, so this is the tens digit, so it's 30, and we want 34. And that takes care of this one. So we'll just put a line under it in case you need to see it again. Now starting with 40, you can see we have 47, or sorry, we have 37 here as well. So you can write 4 and 7, and they should be ordered like that. And then double check, there's none here starting with 3. Okay, so then going with 4, you can see we have 46, 47, 47, and 49. So we have to put each of these in twice, or once. So you have 6, 7, 7, and 9. So again, this one represents 46, 47, 47, 49. So we got rid of all of those. 49. And then on this side, looks like we have none starting with 4. Since starting with 5, see on the left side we have 50, takes care of that. We have 51, so we just write a 1, takes care of that. 52 takes care of that. And then 54 takes care of that. On this side, we do have one starting with 5, so I think 52 is the lowest. Yep, so we'll have 52, and we have 53. And then we have 54, should be. And then we have 59. I don't see any other 50. Oh, there's two 59, so I'll have to put that in twice. Now we're up to the 60s. So here we have 62, and that's it for art. So we're putting that on the left. And then we can just put in the last one, the 71 for art. Then for business, we have 64 is the lowest one. So we have 64. We have 65 is the next one. We have 66. And we have 67 twice. So we can put in the second 7. And then 68 and 69. And that's the stem and leaf plot done. So based on the shape, write a sentence to compare the results. You refer to how well they did on average and how spread out the marks are. So you can see clearly that the art ones are spread out more because this one goes from 34 up to 71. So I guess you could say wider shape. Therefore, what's it? Art, more spread. And you can also see that these numbers are lower. So art has a lower average. And then you can say that business, I'm just going to write B, is less spread. And you could say it's a thinner shape. And then you could say B has a higher average. Because you can see they're sticking out there. I don't know, you can try to describe that they're sticking out more on the higher numbers. I guess you could say most are 50 and 60, but here most are 40 and 50. Most are 40s, I should say, and 50s, because it's not exactly 40 and 50, just in the 40s and 50s. Find the range of the marks for business. So that's the biggest one minus the smallest one. So the stem and leaf plot makes it really easy. And 69 is that number. So you write 69, and then we have minus, then the lowest number is 52. And that should give us 17 is the range of the marks. And always give a unit just in case it's 17 marks. Michael is one of the 12 students. He sits the business test again and gets a higher mark than the first time he took the test. So basically the range doesn't change when he retakes the test. So I guess you could say that initially he wasn't the lowest scorer, because again, if the range is the same, the range is only the biggest one minus the smallest one. So if the range didn't change, that means he wasn't the lowest scorer clearly, because it didn't change. And you could say, and his new result isn't the new highest, you could say. Again, because if the range hasn't changed, that means the highest hasn't changed and the lowest hasn't changed. So I guess this kind of sums it up mostly. A 13th student was absent for the 2 tests. So basically the mean increases from 50 to 51. So I'm guessing if you get the mean of this, it's going to be 50 right now. So remember, the mean is adding them all up and dividing by the number. So you can see there's 12 results. So I guess you can say add all, and when you divide it by 12, you get 50. Okay, so that means when you have add all, and then you have plus Adjani, which I'll call I, and we divide that by 13, because there are now 13 results, that's going to be 51. So we need to solve for A here. So what we can do is we can replace add all. Well, can we figure out what add all is? Yes, we can. We can do it from here, or we can just add up all the numbers if you want, but this is a quicker way of doing it. So it'll be 50 times 12, that gives us 600. So add all of them added together is 600. So that means that 600 plus A over 13 is equal to 51. And we can just solve that. So 51 times 13 is 663. So we can say that 600 plus A is equal to 663. So that means that A is going to be 663 minus 600, which is 63 marks. So that's his mark in art. Or it could be percent. It actually doesn't specify, so you don't have to worry about that. Work out the coordinates of A and C. Okay, it's easy enough. So A, so the X value, we go across 3. So it's going to be 3, and the Y value is minus 2. And for C, the X value is 0, and the Y value is 1. Plot and label B, the point 4, 3. So we go across 4, and we go up 3, and here's B. And it says to label it 2, so that's B. A, B, C, D is a parallelogram. Use that to plot and label D. Okay, so one way that could be a parallelogram is if the point was down here, but obviously that's not really on the graph. So another way it could be a parallelogram is if you think A up to B down to C, then you can kind of imagine that D would be down here. So you have to look at kind of the relationship. Remember, the sides are going to be parallel, so it's going to be the same slope. So you can see the slope here. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes up and 1 across to get from, or the other way around, from B to A. So we go down 5 and to the left 1. So to get from C to D, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, down 5, across 1. And you can see there that the slopes are the same, because another way you could have done it is you could have said to B to C, you go down 2 and across 4, and from A to D, you'll go down 2 and across 4. You can see that the slopes are all the same. So that will plot and label the point D. So yeah, that gives us the point D there, because they're parallel lines. You can kind of see. I guess another thing you could have done is you could have gotten your ruler and kind of like slid your ruler across, or if you got your ruler in a set square to get parallel lines, whatever way works. Then C is the midpoint of AE, write down the coordinates of E. So this is the formula for midpoint here. So we know that C is the midpoint, okay? So the midpoint is C, which is 0, 1, sorry. So that means we have 0, 1 is equal to, and then our other things, so x1 and y1, we can say they're the coordinates of A. So x1 is going to be 3, y1 is 2. So x1, we can say, is going to be 3. And then we don't know what x2 is. That's for E over 2. And then y1, we said, is going to be minus 2 for the point A, plus y2 over 2. Now, we don't know what these are, but we know that this point here has to be the same as this point. We know that 3 plus x2 over 2 has to be equal to 0. And you can see, if you multiply both sides, you can see that x2 is equal to minus 3 then. So x2 is equal to minus 3. You can solve that equation. And then this equation, so minus 2 plus y2 over 2 has to be equal to 1. And then when you solve that, you get that y2 is equal to 4 by multiplying this side by 2. So I'll just go down here. So I'll have minus 2 plus y2 is equal to 2. Then bring the 2 to the other side and you get that y2 is equal to 4. So then we have minus 3, 4 as our answer. And you can kind of see if it makes sense. So if we have minus 3, so x is minus 3, and we have 4 up here, that's what it would look like. You can see that C clearly there is the midpoint. Another way you could have done it if you didn't want to use the formula is you could just go, if C is the midpoint, then you can see we go 3 across, 3 up. So to get to E, you'll go 3 across, 3 up. I don't think they ask us to plot it, do they? No, they don't. Okay. So you can just look up a video on how to do this. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line kind of like this. Then you're going to use a compass and you're going to get like 3 evenly divided. So I'm just going to do this by eye points. And then you'll get a set square. You'll get your ruler and you'll put it here. And then you'll get your set square. Sorry. Then you'll get the set square here. And that'll ensure that all these lines are parallel. And then basically you'll use your set square to draw a line here. Okay, so it'll go like this. And then we'll use it to draw a same line here. So it's going to be parallel, which is the good part. So you'll use the set square to draw the line here. And it'll look something like that. And then you'll do the set square here, and you'll do something like that. And then they should, obviously, if you drew it right, they should be equal then. If I did this a bit nicer, you can see they're not really equal, but you get the idea. That's how it works. You can look up a video on that construction. Work out the angles marked X, Y, and Z. So you can see that because these are parallel, which I would draw with a little arrow, this angle here is going to be the same as X. So X is equal to 72 degrees. And I'd always give a reason why. So X is equal to 72 degrees. And that's because these are corresponding angles on parallel lines. So you can say because corresponding. And then you could also say that this angle here is equal to 72 degrees. Again, it's also corresponding. So I guess you could say that 180, or I guess you could say that Z plus 72 will be 180 because it's a straight angle. So it's a straight line, 180 degrees. So 72 plus Z is equal to 180. That means that Z is equal to 108 degrees. And then finally, Y, well, we know the angles in a triangle add up to 360. So they don't give you very much space for this. But anyways, you can say that 28 plus, and you can say this is straight angle, and then you can say 28 plus x is 72 plus y is equal to 180, and then when you do this will give you 100. So that means that y is equal to 80 degrees. So that'll give you 100. Bring it to the other side, you get 180 minus 100, and you get 80 degrees. Explain why they're similar but not congruent. So this is ABC, and ADF, but not congruent. So they're similar because they both have 28 degrees is a common angle. So you can see in ABC, the big triangle, and ADF, 28 degrees is in both. They both have 72 degrees. They both have 72 degrees. That's because of corresponding angles. So you should all... Well, I always give a reason. They don't tell you to, but just in case, maybe do. And you can say, therefore, the third angle is the same. And that's because angles in a triangle sum to 180 degrees. So how can you see that? 28 degrees and 72 degrees here. So that means that this angle here is going to be 180 minus 28 minus 72 because they add up to 180, and that was the same as what y is. Or another way you could see it is that see how y is corresponding with this, because this is the same line and then these lines are parallel, so this is also y. So they're three of the same angles, so you could say three same angles, therefore similar. Not congruent, that's quite easy. That's just because the side lengths are different, are all different. Okay, and obviously you need to do side angle aside or whatever. Some of the sides need to be the same, but you can see this is way smaller. Congruent means identical, and you can see that they're clearly not identical because one is smaller than the other. Then we have this AD is equal, so these are all equal. Use similar triangles to work out the length of GE. Okay, so basically we're using similar triangles, and we know that this triangle and we know this big triangle, although because we're looking for GE, it's probably better to actually look at. So obviously AEG is similar for the same reason. It's actually easier. The small triangle doesn't really help us because we need this side here. So if we look at this triangle and we look at the really big triangle, because we know that side, so we want to take advantage of that fact. That's why we're using these two triangles. Okay, so they're in the ratio to each other. So that means that if you take this side of the blue triangle, which is 20, and you divide it by this side of the blue triangle, which is GE, that ratio is the same as this side of the red triangle, which is 30, over this side of the red triangle, which is 14.3. And then all you have to do is solve for GE, so you can bring the GE up bring the 30 down and bring the 14.3 across. So basically, you'll bring the 14.3 up, and you'll get 20 times 14.3. You'll bring the 30 down there, and you'll get divided that by 30, and then bring the GE up, and that's equal to GE. And then you can just say that's equal to, and you get 9.53 repeating, or since they didn't say decimal places, maybe give it as a fraction. Probably doesn't really matter. 143 over 15 units. So that looks like 193. It's 143 units over 15 units. So that should be the correct answer. So here you can see that this is x, and then obviously this is another radius, so this is also x, right? So that means 2 x's is equal to 50. That means that x is equal to 25, and then these are all in meters, so x will be in meters. It's 25 meters, and that's a radius, so that's why they're both x. And in terms of y, well, if it's a radius, we also know that here to here is x. So then y is going to be 300. This whole thing minus this x will give us that y. So you have 300 minus x equals y. So 300 minus 25 is equal to y. And 300 minus 25, that's 275. And that's in meters again. It's 275 meters. Okay, the total area of the golf course. So we can get the area of this rectangle and the area of the semicircle. So the area of the rectangle is 50 times 275. So we have the rectangle. We have 50 times 275, which will give us 50 times 275, 13,750 square meters. And then we have the semicircle. Well, the area for a circle is pi r squared, but then we're going to only want half the circle, so we'll divide it into 2. So that's pi, and then the radius is x, which is 25, squared over 2. And it says to the nearest meters squared, so we'll have pi times 25 squared all over 2, and we get that 981.74, so that rounds to 982. So then the total is 13,750 plus 982. You could write meters squared, but I'm just going to leave that till the end. And then what we get is you get 14,732 meters squared. So you can kind of set up an equation to do this. You can kind of say that like 6 liters equals 250 meters squared. Now we need to get this many meters squared. So what can we do? Well, we can divide both sides by 250 and get that 6 over 250 liters is equal to 1 meter squared. And then we multiply both sides by this big number. So multiply the left side by that. We get 6 multiplied by 809,371. All over 250, and the left-hand side still in liters. And that's equal to 809,371 meters squared. So this many meters squared will give this many liters, so we just have to figure out to the nearest whole number. So you get 19424.9, so we'll have 19424.9. It says nearest whole number, so we'll have 19,425 liters. And that's the answer. So that I like to do these questions kind of like simultaneous equations. So you know that B is going to basically be 3 over 2 times bigger than A. So I'd write that equation. We know that C, so this 5 over 3, that's in comparison to that 1. So I would write C is equal to, it's basically going to be 5 over 3A. Or you could see what the ratio is between these two, but it's easiest to compare it to 1. And we know that in 1 liter, I guess if you add up A and B and C, that'll give you 1 liter. And then since we need to solve for something, we need to solve for B technically, but we'll just solve for A first because it's easier, because you can see we have all these equations with A's in them, because then I can say A plus, and instead of B I'm going to write 3 over 2A, and instead of C I'm going to write 5 over 3A. And that's all in 1 liter. It could be in any liter. This is just a proportion. So we're just finding out how much of these is there in 1 liter when you add A, B, and C. And we know the ratios. So we can figure out what A is here. So when you add up these numbers, you'll basically get 25 over 6A is equal to 1 liter. So you can think about it as factoring out the A and adding up the numbers, or just add up all the coefficients. This is 1A. So then multiply by 6 divided by 25. A is equal to 6 over 25 times 1 liters, which is equal to, so we can 6 over 25, I guess that's 0.24 liters. And then milli means 1,000, so that's the same as saying 240 milliliters. Okay, now we know that B is 3 over 2 times bigger than A as our equation here. So B will be equal to 3 over 2 times 240, which is equal to 360. And a way that you can check your answer is if I calculate C here, which will be 5 over 3 times A, which is 240. So I can say 5 times 240 over 3 on my calculator, and I get 400. When I add all of these three up, you can see 400. Well, adding these two together gives you 600. Add the 400, that gives us 1 liter. So we know we did this right because it all adds up to 1 liter. So we want our answer here in meters cubed. So we need to make sure we write this as 0.9 meters. Okay. So in terms of getting the volume of the tank, the volume of a cylinder, basically the way that I mean, it's in the log tables if you want to check, but it's like taking this circle and then you're stretching it out. So basically the volume, we take the area of the circle, which is pi r squared, and then we stretch it out by 4 meters, which we call the height. So the radius, we'll have pi, and then the radius we call 0.9 squared, and multiplied by the height, which is 4, and then we just multiply those together, and we get 10.1, and we have 2 decimal places, so we'll say 10.18, and that's in meters cubed because we multiplied 3 meter quantities together. Here's a different cylindrical tank. Length is 3 times longer than the radius. So basically, you can write that in maths. L is equal to 3r. And then we know that the volume is equal to pi r squared h from the tables book, or from how I said. And the volume is equal to 81 pi over 125. Now we know that I wrote L, but the length is kind of like the height. So I'll just change that to h. So we know in this equation, the pi's can cancel, divide both sides by pi, they cancel out. So r squared, and then h is just equal to 3r. That's equal to 81 over 125. So that's 3r cubed, So we'll have 3r cubed is 81 over 125. Divide both sides by 3, so bring the 3 down as division. And we'll get that r cubed is equal to 81 over 125 times 3. So that means that r is the cube root, or the power of a third, of 81 over 125 times 3. And that gives you 0.6. And it's going to be in meters because these are all in meters. So that means this will be in meters, and they want the radius of the tank in meters, so then we're done. If cos of A is 0.27, what is the size of the angle A? Just bring the cos to the other side, kind of like as a cos inverse by doing the inverse function on both sides. So if I do cos inverse on the left, the way that I like to think about it, so if a cos A is equal to 0.27, if I apply a cos inverse to this side, and I apply a cos inverse to this side, then cos inverse and cos cancel, we just have with A, and then we have cos inverse of 0.27, and you just have to put that into your calculator, cos inverse of 0.27, and we have 74.33, nearest degree is 74 degrees. Trigonometry to find out the height h. Well, what we can do is we can find out dB and subtract CB, and then that'll give us h, the difference between them. So to find dB, well, we can draw out that triangle, might help. So this is A, B, and here's D first. So this angle here, you can see if the bigger one is 29. We know that this is 23. Let's find dB. So this is the opposite. This is the adjacent. So you want to use tan. So tan of 29 is equal to the opposite, which is dB, perfect, over 23. So that means that dB is 23 tan 29. Now you could get a decimal on that, but I'll just leave that till the end, because now let's look at the other triangle, which is ABC. This one is known as 22. This is 23. The length CB, we're going to use tan again. So tan 22, the opposite is CB, and the adjacent is 23. So that means that CB is equal to 23 tan 22. And then the difference between these, as I said, is going to give us h, dB minus CB. So then dB minus CB will be equal to 23 tan 29 minus 23 tan 22. Put that into your calculator, correct one decimal place. What you get is 3.456, which rounds up to 3.5. And what's our unit in? Are these in meters? Yep. So 3.5, and then our units in meters. And that's it. So this is a pretty awful graph, but if you want to get 20 for the first time, well, these go up in 3, so you want to get about a third, which is roughly here. You could use your ruler to get a third more accurately, but it's roughly there. And then let's check the time. Can you do this better with a ruler? And they say to show your work on the graph. So this is about 2 points. And I guess you could say that might be roughly, well, I guess looking up here, I guess it's probably 4/5. So it's 2 hours and 4/5 of an hour. And 4/5 of 1 hour. Well, I guess you could say it's 2.8 hours, I suppose. It says give your answer in hours, so maybe that's what they want. But you could write that in minutes. So 0.8 of an hour, well, that's 60, and you're multiplying it by 0.8 to get 0.8 of it. So it's 6 hours, or 2 hours and 48 minutes. How many hours does the temperature remain constant for x between 0 and 8? Well, you can see the answer is it goes constant here, doesn't change, from 3 until 7. So we can say that 7 minus 3 gives us 4 hours. So the rate of change is 3 degrees Celsius per hour. We have to draw section S. So it starts at 15, and we're adding an extra 3 per hour. So adding an extra 3 is basically just doing a full box, and doing that in 1 hour is doing it in one box. So basically, it starts at 15, and in the next hour, we want to get to 18. So there, and then you draw this to the straight ruler, obviously, and then the next hour, it'll add another 3 to get to 21. Here's section S there. Yeah. And then we have to just write P, Q, or. So 21, that's not changing, so that's going to be section Q. X squared plus 12. We know squared is a curvy thing, so that's P. Another way you can tell is it's positive, so it's increasing, it's getting bigger. Meanwhile, this one's negative, it's getting smaller, and it's a straight line, so that's obviously going to be or there. And then for section S, well, you know that we're going to be increasing by 3 each time, so it's not going to be the middle one. Then remember, this is the y-intercept here, okay? And clearly, the y-intercept is going to be negative because it's going to keep continuing down here. It's going to get down to there. So since the y-intercept is negative, it has to be this one because clearly it doesn't intersect the y-axis at 12 because then it would have to intersect the y-axis here. But clearly, that's not going to happen on this S line. So it's going to be negative. So that's the last one. You can say y-intercept can't be 12. And it's increasing, so it's positive slope, therefore can't be minus 3x, and then that rules out those two, so then it has to be the far left one. Remember that the graph shows the temperature in the bedroom is 3 degrees less than the temperature in the kitchen, so we're doing it for the first 8 hours, so it's 3 degrees left, so less, so all I have to do is start down here, and just try to copy it the best you can. I'm doing this on a computer, so it won't be as good, obviously. But roughly like that, and then across up until here, and then using the same slope, so 2 boxes down, 1 box across, and that completes it. Do we have to label it or anything? No, we don't. So yeah, that's it. So the missing value is this part here. So you can see the entire bubble of D is going to have 40, but obviously x of them are in here. So in this section, it's going to be 40 minus x, because then 40 minus x add x, that's everything in D, that gives you 40, so that's the right answer. Hence, or otherwise, work out the value of x. Well, one way we can do it is we know that all of these add up, all of these numbers will add up to 88, because there's 88 in total. So if we have 40 minus x plus x, doesn't really matter, we add 2x plus 1, we add on the 37 that aren't in any club. When we add all those people together, we get 88. And then we just have to solve. So 40 plus 37 plus 1, that'll give us 78. So we have 2x plus 78 is equal to 88. And then that means that 2x is equal to 10 when you bring the 78 to the other side. So that x is equal to 5. And you can sub it in there. So 35 and 5, that makes 40. That's good. And yeah, you can basically just double check all that by subbing it in. Michael's in the set D without C. All of these symbols are in the tables book, by the way. I forget what page, I'll check. Yeah, so on page 23 of the tables book, the meanings of these symbols are there. What does this mean? So it's D without C. So it's just it's this part without the C part, okay? So that means he's only in the D, the debating club. Only in debating club, not the chess club. We're asked to simplify this, so we add like terms. So 5x squared plus 3x squared gives us 8x squared. And then minus 7x minus 6x is minus 13x. Nothing really else you could factor, but they don't ask you to. We're asked to do long division here. I'm guessing that most people will probably do it this way. I don't really like doing it this way, but I'll do it this way, and I'll say the way that I prefer to do it. So we'll have x cubed plus 11x squared plus 15x minus 27. So we'll get x squared when we divide x into x cubed, goes x squared times y, because x squared multiplied by x gives us x cubed, and they're opposites. Then x squared times 3 gives us 3x squared, and then we subtract this thing off. The reason I don't like this is because these are just a bunch of random steps that you have to memorize. I prefer to have an understanding. So x times that gives us 8x, multiply them back, we get 8x squared, 8x times x, then 8x times 3 is 24x, and we subtract this off. And then this will give you minus 9x, because this number is bigger. Then you have minus 27x, sorry, minus 27, no x. So yeah, that's 15 minus 24, that's why it's negative. So 27, and then x goes into this minus 9 times, because minus 9 times x gives us minus 9x. Minus 9 times 3 gives us minus 27. If we subtract that off, this is our remainder, it's 0. So that means that the answer is, it's going to be just this thing on the top. So it's x squared plus 8x minus 9. Now the way that I prefer to do it is when you take a linear equation, this might be more into leaving cert, but then if you multiply that by a quadratic, which you can say is ax squared plus bx plus c, but we don't need to say ax squared because we know that the first number in front of the x cubed is 1. Again, I can make a video in this in more depth. So x squared plus bx plus c. When you multiply those together, because a linear times a quadratic, that'll increase the power by 1, giving us a cubic. X cubed plus 11x squared plus 15x minus 27. Now, if you multiply out this bracket and you compare how many x squareds are on this side, how many are on this side, you can solve for b and c, and then this here is your answer. Because if you rearranged and you'd have this side, bring the x plus 3 down as division, divided by x plus 3, and then this is your answer here. It'll end up being the same quadratic. So here we have a function, and we're asked to just add plug in values. So if we have x is minus 1, we'll have minus 1 plus 2 gives us 1. 2 divided by 1 will give us 2. Or you can do this into your calculator, the function button. When it's 1, we'll have 2 over 3. So 2 decimal places. So 2 divided by 3, well, that's 0.676666. So rounding it up is 0.67. And then 4 plus 2 gives us 6. 2 divided by 6 is a third. So 0.3333 repeating. And then we're asked to draw this. So we have when x is minus 1, y is 2. So minus 1, we have 2 up here. And then we have 0 is 1. So when x is 0, the f of x is 1. 1 is 0.67. So here's 0.75. So 0.67 might be here. You can do it a bit better with your or your what's it called? Your ruler to figure out like the differences between, but it doesn't really matter. 2 gives us 0.5. And then 0.4. So if this is 0.25 and this is 0.5, that means that every fifth is 0.05. So we'd have 0.3, 0.35, 0.4. It's about here. It's just over halfway. Again, you can do that a bit better if you want. And then 0.33, this is 0.25. And then add on another fifth gives us 0.3. So a little higher than that gives us 0.33. We just have to connect these together roughly. So connect them in a smooth line. And you can graph this. You can look up what the graph this looks like. But as long as it's a smooth line, it doesn't really matter too much. Obviously, you do a better job than that. Solve these simultaneous equations. I prefer to just sub one into the other. The second one looks a bit nicer. So let's say y is 9 minus 2x. Bring the 2x to the other side. And then we have 3x plus 4y. This is equation 2. This is equation 1. And we know that this y here is 9 minus 2x. So we have 3x plus 4 times 9 minus 2x is 29. So we have that 3x plus 4 times 9 is 36. We have minus 8x is going to be equal to 29. And then basically we'll have minus 5x. When we do that, bring the 36 to the other side as a minus. So 29 minus 36 is minus 7. So that means that x is equal to 7 over 5, which you can give as a decimal if you want. It's 1.4. Now, what's y? Well, y is 9 minus 2x. So y is equal to 9 minus 2x, which is equal to 9 minus 2 times 1.4. So 9 minus 2 times 1.4 is 6.2. So x is 1.4, y is 6.2. How can you check? Sub them back in to both equations, and they should be equal to the numbers on the left. So when you sub in 1.4 and 6.2, you get 29, and same when you do it in this, you'll get 9. So now we have this. So the length of the frame is 18 plus 2x. Why? Because this is 18, this is x and x, so it's 18 plus x. Find the width in terms of x. So we have this 12 here. So it'll be 12 plus then this x here to get w, x plus, and then this x here is also x. And that's what w is. So w is 12 plus 2x. Hence, show that this is true. So L times W. So L times W will be equal to 18 plus 2x multiplied by 12 plus 2x. So 18 times 12 is probably a big number. I'm guessing it's 216. 18 times 12. Yep, it's 216. So 216, that'll give us 36x. This will give us 24x. And this will give us 4x squared. Because it's 2 times x times 2 times x. So group that into 2 times 2 and x times x. So we'll have 4x squared if we just rearrange it how they have it. 36 plus 24 gives us 60. We have x, and then we have 216. And that's what L times W is. And then we've just shown that. We know that the product is 648. Use that to find the value of x. Okay, so we can say that 4x squared plus 60x plus 216 is equal to 648. Now we need to find the value of x, and that'll be in centimeters, I'm guessing. Because, well, this area is in centimeters, so it will. So bring the 648 to the other side. So it's 648. And then we get 4x squared plus 60x minus 432 is equal to 0. And I think we can divide everything by 4 here. Yeah, we can. So if I divide everything by 4, just to make it easier, of x squared, 60 divided by 4 is 15x. And then 432 divided by 4 is minus 108 equals 0. You can look for factors if you want, or just go straight to the quadratic formula. Given that this is correct to one decimal place, it probably won't factor, but we can try if we want. Given that it says one decimal place, we can try to factor, but it's probably no point because it has a decimal. So yeah, we'll just go straight into the formula, I guess. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a. B is clearly 15, so minus 15 plus or minus the square root of 15 squared minus 4 times 1 times minus 108, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. So then when you simplify that, you'll get minus 15 plus or minus the square root of 657, all over 2. So the square root of 657, I'm guessing, doesn't simplify. Nope. So for the plus answer, we just do minus 15 plus the square root of 657, all over 2, which will give us minus 15 plus root 657 over 2. That gives us 5.31, so that'll be 5.3 centimeters, and that's probably the answer, because if we do the other one, we'll get a negative number, because it's a minus 15 minus another number, so it'll be negative. Can't have a negative length, so it's just 5.3. And that's it.